Oh, nice one.
So.
Nice. Look at that, dude. Awesome job, buddy.
Thank you.
So we're here today on a local lake, and it's a big local lake. Kind of turn it sideways. Yeah, show everybody what he looks like. Nice one, about a 2.5 pounder. And they've been hitting the top water a little bit from what we hear. We've never been here before. So it's early April in Georgia. It's been really hot, and of course of all days we have a day to film. It got cold and windy, but that one hit Liar's buzzbait pretty good. We're gonna throw buzzbaits for a little while and see if they'll hit them. Excited about this day. Here with one of my favorite fishing partners, my son Liar, and we're gonna see how we can do. You guys stay with us. They just kind of coming up. They're not killing it really hard. They're just kind of easing onto it. And I guess that's probably this cold front. He's not a real big one, but he got on it. So we're throwing buzz baits by a couple of our friend sponsors today. I'm throwing a Big Bite Baits Tour Toad buzz bait. Oop. And Liar's throwing a Buckeye buzz bait. And they both seem to be working. And that fish right there is really healthy. He came up and got it. They're not killing it, they're just kind of sucking it under. But this is a great bait for post-spawn. We think a lot of these fish may be post-spawn. The water's like 71 degrees. And if you can get them to hit a buzz bait, that's what you want to do. We may have to try something else later, but it was a lot of fun. So, I think the weather's made it a little tough for us. This cold wind, cold front kind of day, and we threw moving baits for a while. Liar picked up his, it's actually a Yo Mama. It's a creature bait.
Frog.
Oh, it's a fighting frog, I'm sorry. And picked up that one. So it looks like probably what we're gonna have to do today is just slow down and fish real deliberate. And a lot of times that happens when you have real warm weather and you get a real cold day or a real windy day, cold front type deal. That's what you have to do. Pretty nice one. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
So we're just kind of experimenting right now, is the honest truth, because these fish, we think they're probably post-spawn. There may be a few on the bed, but I came out on a windy point, and the perfect bait for a windy point is a rattling bait. This is a red-eye shad, kind of a sexy shad color, and he kind of munched on it. He's not a big giant one, but he's a pretty nice one. Kind of my rule of thumb when I'm throwing these too, on cloudy days, kind of like today, I'll pick colors that are not chrome. I pick chrome on sunny days, but on non-sunny days, on cloudy days, I guess that's what you call non-sunny days. Boy, I might have to get pliers for him. I'm throwing this little bit more subtle kind of white color. This is called Sexy Shad. The reason I'm not trying to grab him is because those hooks are right there in the bottom of his mouth. And I don't want to get them in me.
Good one.
Yeah, that's kind of what you have to do. We've never been to this lake before. We kind of knew where they were in the time of year, and you just kind of have to work for the first hour, hour and a half to kind of figure out what they're doing. And you may have to throw several different baits till you get on something, or you may have to do that all day. But anyway, he's pretty decent one. Oh, he got it again.
No way.
A bigger one.
No way.
We came on this point, it was windy. I could see a bunch of bait on the depth finder. So I started throwing a rattling bait, and I could actually physically feel that bait bumping shad down there. So I knew there's gotta be fish down there. And I hooked one about 2.5 pounds, and he jumped and threw it, and this one was in there with him. This is a much nicer one than 2.5 pounds. But both times in this lake we've come to a point, we've caught fish. And so we may be starting to establish a little bit of a pattern where they're moving out off the spawn, and they're getting out on these points, getting ready to move out for summer. They're not out yet, they're not deep, but boy, this is a nice fish right here. He's not quite as big as I thought he was, but he's a nice one. They're all fat and healthy, aren't they, Leo? And you can see that, buddy? See that sore on his tail? That means he probably just came off a bed. That's a solid 3-pounder.
That's awesome. Good job.
See if we can catch another one like that. And all I'm throwing is this little, just a little red-eye shad in a sexy shad color. And I had to throw in there several times, but it was like when they got active, there were several fish in there. I'm gonna see if I can get another one. So we it's been really difficult to even fish today. The wind is so hard, so we really just kind of got somewhere to get out of the wind. And my friend that's kind of manages this place, can you pull your rod up, Leo? I think I'm in your line. We got all kind of stuff going on right here. Said they'd catching on shaky head, so Buckeye makes a shaky head called a spot remover. And I put me a crawl. Oh my gosh. Oh, I thought it was a 2-pound brim, but it's a bass. And I put him on with a crawl, Big Bite College crawl. And it's like, it really is like I said earlier, we're kind of just trying to fish a whole bunch of different things, and nothing seems to be the one thing, but it's kind of neat on a day like today. You get to do a lot of different techniques. These fish are just coming off the bed. I think that fish was shallow, and they like a crawfish, or don't like it, whatever the case might be. We're gonna keep throwing that though. I haven't been throwing it, but 5 minutes I've already gotten 2 bites on it, so we're gonna try it a little bit more. Boy, it felt like a little tiny one, Leo.
Really?
So we were coming through this, we were fishing the bank. We've got this cool side imaging technology on this back depth finder, and Alex saw a hump out off the bank, and we could see some fish hanging out off the side of it, and we came pulled out here, and I'm throwing my little spot remover with the crawl. Alex caught one on a crankbait, and I just caught this one. And I think these fish are kind of in all stages. I mean, this is kind of a pre-summer pattern right here. They're out on a hump. That's a nice little fat one. He's probably done spawning and out here getting fat, eating brim and shad and stuff, but he's still got a sore place, so he hasn't been long off the bed. So we're out here, we found this little offshore hump, and boy, I think there's just one little spot where fish are hanging out. I'm hoping this little spot lock on the on the trolling motor is going to hold us where we need to be. Ooh, that's a pretty good fish right there. Yeah. That's a pretty good one. I didn't think he was quite that big when he first jumped. But they're on this hump, and they're hanging out right on the drop, where the hump starts to drop from like 6 foot down to like 10 foot. That's a pretty nice fish.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a good one.
And this fish is all beat up from spawning. You see right there. And she's probably out here healing up, and we can see schools of bait on our depth finders.
Gosh, that's a fat fish.
And that's probably a 3-pounder. And they're just, it's pretty amazing actually. Clearly this fish hadn't been off the bed a week, and they're already out here. And I guess it's because it got so hot last week, they're already out. Pretty nice one, huh?
Yeah.
See if we can get us another. Basically what we're throwing is just this little spot remover jig head. People call it a shaky head. My crawl's kind of torn, but it's got a little spring right here, and you just screw the bait in and then fish at Texas rig. And I'm fishing a Big Bite Baits college crawl in a tilapia color. It's kind of a green pumpkin with several color sparkles in it. And then I'm dyeing the claws just a little bit with some Spike It garlic spray. So Liar got him one. Again, we're just kind of fishing what we can fish, and we pulled in on a spawning flat, and he threw out by some wood cover. What'd you get him on? Spot remover with a college crawl, and that joker ate it, didn't he?
Pretty good one.
So I don't know how well y'all will be able to hear us in this crazy wind, but basically the pattern today has not really been a pattern.
Oh, he's running under the boat.
We've kind of fished lots of different ways to catch them. Kind of the most consistent has been soft plastics, either a Texas rig or this little spot remover. Liar got him a nice one there.
That's a pretty good one right there.
What are you throwing on the spot remover, Liar?
Big Bite Baits tilapia college crawl.
And did you dye the claws?
I did with some Spike It chartreuse dye.
Why don't you
Sprayed
turn
up.
around and show them? So, and what he was asking me earlier was, does it make a difference, you know, to dye the claws? And I really think today it has made a difference, don't you?
I do indeed.
So,
yeah. for
nice
sure.
one, buddy.
Pretty good one.
Hang on. Let me come under you. Come under you. All right. All right.
All right.
So basically the pattern we're on now is we came down a bank where we could get out of the wind a little bit. And Liar's got a nice one. I got one about the size we've been catching. Liar got a nice one. Clearly, see this fish just off the bed, all beat up and everything, but we got out of the wind and got onto some of these.
Right in this bone. There we go.
There you go. And what we have though is these fish are just coming off the bed and they're sitting right on these little breaks. But that's a real nice one. I think yours is a little bigger, man.
Maybe.
Good job.
Thanks. Nice.
So we kept getting so many bites of them reeling in this crawl, I decided to try this little Bandit 200 crankbait. And I caught one right off the end of a tree right up there. Same bank, same kind of situation, post-spawn fish, but on the crankbait. And that can, you always want to have one of these kind of medium running crankbaits tied on in the post-spawn, because these fish will move off the bank and get on the first breaks. And it's a real efficient way to cover a lot of water and catch fish too at the same time. He's a nice one. So we're coming down the bank, and I just picked up this crankbait, and this fish was a good bit further off the bank. And we're coming up on a break. It's about 12 foot out here, and this is a really nice fish. I don't know how well I have him hooked because he kind of hit it close to the boat. Yeah, he didn't hit it funny, he hit it good, but he was just real close. He's coming up right there. I'm gonna let you help me. But he was right on the break. The last little bit of ground it hit, Liar, as soon as it came off of it, I felt him jump on it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of babying this fish. You can notice I'm letting that line with my thumb because, number one, I don't think he's hooked real good. Number two, I've only got 10-pound line on here. But that's a nice fish, yeah. That's a pretty one. That's by far the biggest one we've had on today. Let's see if we can see him in the boat. Oh yeah, that's a really nice fish.
Really big fish.
Can you get him?
I think so.
Get your hand now, there you go. Good job, bro. Thank you,
Yep.
buddy. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at her, gosh.
Jeez, here you go.
So really what we've been doing maybe, and maybe we can start to do this now.
Belly.
Yeah, and clearly that fish is all beat up. I don't know if she's been spawned yet or she's eaten now, but these bigger fish are moved off a little deeper, I think. The one about 3 pounds he caught a few minutes ago was further off the bank too. So we're gonna ease on down the bank and see if we can get a few more like that one. That's probably a 6 or 7 pounder, don't you think?
Yeah.
So it seems like we figured out a little something here coming down this same bank. We got several bites on earlier. It's not as big a fish, but it's a pretty decent one.
You got that one?
And we're, yeah, I got him. We're coming down and we're throwing this Bandit 200, which on this 10-pound line runs about 6 to 8 foot. And I really think these fish are sitting on that 6-foot break, these better females. And since they were chasing those crawls, I thought I'd use something that was a little more of a moving bait. And that's 2 in about 8 or 10 casts coming down this bank. So we're gonna, Lee R searching around for one now. We're gonna tie him one on too. In case you hadn't noticed on this show, I love to fish. I've loved to fish since I was a little guy. In fact, when I was really little, my dad taught me how to fish catching brim on mayflies. As I got a little bit older, we started crappie fishing, catching crappie on minnows down at the north end of Lake Eufaula. I mean, I love catching all kinds of fish. I love catching smallmouth bass in Maine. I love catching stripers on the river. I enjoy catching catfish in our pond, anything that'll pull on your line. But by far, my favorite fish to catch is a largemouth bass. There's just something about the way they strike. There's something about the hunt, trying to find them and catch them, that's fun to me. So I really love fishing for all kinds of things. But really, my favorite thing to fish for is something that you should want to fish for also. And God describes it in the Bible in Matthew chapter 4, verse 19. And Jesus is actually meeting his first disciples by the Sea of Galilee, and he tells them to leave their boats. And what he says in Matthew chapter 4, verse 19 is this: "Come follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And basically what he's saying is, if you'll follow me, I'll let you teach people about of my love for them, about having a relationship with them. And so my encouragement to you guys tonight is, if you are a Christ follower, that you need to be about fishing for men, that you need to use the things that you love to do to share Christ with other people, to tell them about the good news of a relationship with Jesus Christ. Or maybe tonight you're watching our show and you're in that boat of, you know what, I can't be a fisher of men because I don't have a relationship with Jesus. And you're somebody that I would tell, you know what, the cool thing about a relationship with Jesus is you don't have to earn it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a free gift. And his promise is that if you accept him and you have a relationship with him, he'll give you 2 things. First of all, he'll give you what he calls abundant life in John 10:10, which means he gives you the best life here you can possibly have. And secondly, one day when you die, when I die, which all of us will, we'll live for eternity in heaven with him. And the way you do that is to ask him to forgive your sins, ask him to come and live in your heart and be Lord of your life. And that's how you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So maybe you've never done that before, and I just encourage you tonight, maybe right there where you're watching, to bow your head and pray and ask him to come and live in your heart and be Lord of your life. Hey, thanks so much for listening today. Hey guys, what we do at Go Fish Ministries is share the gospel and encourage believers in their walk with Christ. We do this through a variety of events such as wild game dinners, kids camps, men's events, music events, or even if you or someone you know just needs a day on the water. Go Fish Ministries wants to point you toward Jesus and help you know him better. Contact us through our website. We'd love to serve you any way we can. God bless you and go fish.
You know, when I look at the tournaments I've won, probably 4 or 5 of the boats that I've won have been on a tube. But I had completely gotten away from flipping a tube because nobody made one soft enough.
Big Bite has come with this new tour series of baits. The thing that's probably the most unique is when you look at that bait, the salt just rolls out of it. And to me, that is the reason a fish bites a tube and hangs on to it. This isn't one of those let's go out and catch some smallmouth tube. This is a let's get it done tube.
So Lear's throwing this same crankbait, really had just picked it back up and got a nice one. Look how fat that fish is, bud.
It is that.
So we think some of these fish, most of them are post-spawn, but a lot of these fish may be, that fish may be a pre-spawn. Let's look at him. Yeah, look at his tail. Pull his tail up and let him see that tail. So that fish has
right there.
come off the bed and he's so fat that that's not eggs, that's probably shad and brim and stuff like that. So the crankbait deal seems to be working. It's kind of neat when you figure something out, you know, and I actually missed a fish and Lear pulled right across there and caught it. It's really cool when and what we're doing is finding these banks where we're sitting in about the middle depth of the lake. It's not the real shallow end, it's not the real deep end. And these banks are about 45-degree angle banks. Bandit 200 crankbait.
Pliers for that one.
Okay.
Hooked weird.
So we're still coming down this bank and we've actually tried using, oh, fish came off. We've tried using several other things, but it seems that these little that's why he came off. You ought to always check. Sometimes those hooks will hook together. That's why I lost that fish. But boy, it's almost like automatic. If we can get in this 10, 12, 15 foot range instead of 18, 19, or 6 or 7, that's where we're getting bit. These fish are just on these 45-degree angle banks, a little bit of shade up there. And I think they've spawned right on these banks, and I think they're just moving out to the first break. And that's where we're getting bit on these crankbaits. So we came, and it seems like the little bit nicer fish are toward the ends of these trees and stuff. A couple of the nicer ones we've caught have been on these ends of these trees, and it's on that same crankbait, this Bandit 200. I'm throwing it on a little bit heavier line now, but I still think it goes about 6 to 8 foot. And this is a pretty nice fish right here. I thought he was a lot bigger, but he felt that way, Lear, because he was hooked in the head.
Yeah, he's hooked on it.
Now he came out.
That's a good fish.
Yep. Oop, stop that. Sometimes when they got it, you probably saw Lear doing that, when they got it in the top of their mouth like that, you can grab them around the gill plate. Oh, got him! I saw that fish.
Yeah,
that was the coolest thing ever.
Came off that log.
Lear threw his crankbait up here on this log, and I saw that fish come out from under there and eat it.
He hammered.
Yeah, he hammered it pretty good too. That's very cool.
That's crazy. You gotta log that one.
Bandit 100. I'm sorry, Bandit 200. So yeah, really today it's kind of been an experiment in different ways to fish, but the last couple of hours it's all been the crankbait. And a lot of times when you get on a spring day and you get a lot of wind and some banks, these fish will move in there and you can catch them. So it just so happens that the day that we had to film today was Good Friday. And Lear, what does Good Friday mean to you?
Well, you know, Good Friday is the day we remember as Jesus being crucified. When God sent his son, you know, he lived a perfect life on earth, and then he died on a cross for our sins. And that's unimaginable. You know, that God would do that for us. That's just amazing.
Yeah. And so as a Christ follower, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? It means that, you know, what Jesus did for us, we realize that we're all sinners, and
Right.
And what do we have to do to have a relationship with him?
All we have to do is pray a simple prayer. You know, you just pray to God and you say, God, please forgive me of my sins. I believe your son Jesus died on the cross for me. Please be Lord of my life. And he will do that and he will save you.
And if you guys are watching today and just, hey, I ran across this fishing show and you hear this message, man, that's why we do what we do, to share the good news of Good Friday and Easter Sunday with you guys, that Jesus died on the cross for you, rose again, led a perfect sinless life so that you can have a relationship with him. Thanks, buddy. it seems that as the day gets brighter, these fish are getting a little bit less just on the break, and the last 2 or 3 I've caught have been in the end of a tree. And a lot of times that'll happen when the sun gets high. They'll get in that shade of those trees and ambush bait coming by. And this is the best one I've caught in several fish. It's a pretty nice fish right here. And it bumped that last limb on the front of that tree, and he jumped on it. He thumped it good. I think he's got it down pretty good. That may be right on the outside of his mouth. That's a pretty nice fish right there, Lear. Lear eating him. Oh, that's why he's pulling so hard. I got him hooked on the side of the head. He's not that big of a fish.
Still a nice one.
Yeah, but when they get hooked like that, that's why he was pulling funny. But if you could look at this tree, and since Lear was sitting down eating a sandwich, so I pulled in there and threw across the front of that tree, and as soon as it hit that very last limb out on the front, he thumped it really good.
Big one following it.
I'm right with you.
It was back there following it is what
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about what's going on, the last couple fish we've caught, and you kind of know you're on the right deal when that happens, is you have other fish following it, which means you're not just around single fish, you're around groups of fish. And so definitely the crankbait's been the deal.
Little guy.
So we pulled in on a shallow point, and Alex saw a bunch of brim beds up on a shallow point, and so Lear put on a brim color crankbait, a shallow running, and caught this nice one. So we got one more off a tree on the crankbait. It has been a blast today catching them this way. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them. Of course, I guess most ways are my favorite, aren't they? But we've just been catching some nice quality fish, couple big ones, some really nice ones, some small ones, but they're all kind of the common denominator has been there. We think they're mostly post-spawn, coming off the bed, and we're fishing breaks. Whether we were catching them on a worm or the crankbait, the key was fishing these little breaks, kind of 45-degree angle breaks. Hey, I had a blast today. Always enjoy fishing with my son Lear. Good Friday, you know, today's the day that what we believe about Christ is all about when he gave his life on the cross. We caught a whole bunch of fish, just couldn't have asked for a better day. So thanks for being with me, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for taking me.
And thank all of y'all for being with us, and join us next time.